This is ACIM Lesson 72. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a structured, visual journey through one of the most profound teachings in A Course in Miracles. We're going to break down exactly how this text connects those everyday frustrations we all feel to a massive cosmic misunderstanding of who we really are.
So I want you to think for a second about the everyday grievances you hold. You know, maybe a coworker said something snide to you, someone cut you off in traffic, or a friend betrayed your trust. We all hold these grudges, right? But the text makes an incredibly bold claim here. How does being annoyed at your coworker amount to an active attack on God's plan for salvation? Well, to understand this profound underlying spiritual meaning, we have to look at the architect of those grievances, the ego.
Section 1. The ego's hidden attack. Okay, let's dive into this. The source text makes it very clear that the ego doesn't just casually disagree with God's plan. It is an active, deliberate attempt to destroy it.
What's truly interesting here is how the text actually defines the ego. Its fundamental wish is to replace God entirely, and the way it pulls this off is pretty tricky. It actually surrounds your mind with a physical body. It convinces you that you're isolated, separate, and alone, and that the only way you can possibly reach other minds is through this physical shell. Basically, the ego tricks us into believing that this profound limitation on our communication is somehow the best way to connect. It creates a literal prison and calls it a bridge.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding this stark contrast. God's plan is rooted in truth, light, and the infinite spirit. The ego's plan, on the other hand, relies entirely on illusion, the inevitability of death, and the physical body. In this attack, the text explains that we actually suffer from this upside-down perception. God is assigned the limiting attributes of the ego, while the ego parades around pretending to take on the attributes of God.
Section 2. Why we hold grievances. Let's see how this builds into our daily lives. I really want you to reflect for a moment. What actually triggers you to hold a grudge? When you get mad at someone, what is it that they actually did? When we examine these common reasons for our grievances, a very clear pattern starts to emerge. A person says something you don't like. They do something displeasing. They act with hostility. Notice a theme here? These relatable grievances are always, 100% of the time, associated with what a physical body does. We're reacting to lips moving, hands acting, bodies behaving. We are entirely missing what that person truly is in spirit. And this is exactly where the text makes its most startling logical leap. When we judge someone purely by their physical actions, we're essentially chaining them to the limitations of their body. By confusing the person with their physical shell, we are asserting that the body is real. And if his creation, the sun, is only a body, well then God the Creator must be a body as well, right? Because a creator wholly unlike his creation is inconceivable. So, by holding a grievance, you are inadvertently attacking the Creator, implying God is just a limited physical body.
Section 3. The ego's fake savior. This brings us to a much darker, more intense reality. Because once we fall into this trap, we embrace a physical limitation that leads us down a very, very bleak path.
This leads us to a pretty devastating question. If we insist through our grievances that the body is real, and therefore God is a body, what must his plan for salvation be? Since physical bodies are mortal and inevitably die, a physical God would be subject to those exact same physical laws. Therefore, his ultimate plan could literally be nothing but death. If God presents himself as the author of life, but is actually a physical body, the text says he becomes a liar and a deceiver, just full of false promises. Every single grievance you hold reinforces this terrible belief. You project this attack onto God, holding him responsible for a world of death. The text actually paints a vivid, honestly terrifying metaphor here. It describes the world built on grievances as a carefully prepared arena, where angry animals seek for prey and mercy cannot enter. It's this dog-eat-dog physical world of pure survival, completely devoid of any spiritual truth. And this brilliantly illustrates the ego's ultimate trap. Into this merciless arena, the ego steps in, pretending to be your savior. It whispers to you, hey, God made you a body. Take the little you can get in this physical world. The ego offers you the body as your only savior, which is, in reality, the death of God and the death of your true spiritual salvation. It's a dark, false promise for sure, one that glorifies physical survival while attacking the core truth of who you really are.
Section 4. Shifting our perception. Now, there is a way out. We absolutely do not have to stay trapped in that arena. We can pivot away from the darkness of the ego's illusion and move toward the light of truth, simply by fixing this ruinous, upside-down perception. The text instructs us to completely flip how we see ourselves. We usually think our truth is on the outside, in our bodies, but we need to realize the body is just an external shell. It's on the outside, and, as the text plainly says, it is simply not our concern. Our true, natural state is on the inside, the light of truth, exactly where it was safely placed by God. To see ourself as separate from the physical body is how we instantly end the attack on God's plan. And the beautiful realization here is that true salvation isn't something we have to desperately earn sometime in the future. The exact moment we stop identifying ourselves and our brothers purely by physical bodies and physical grievances, salvation is accepted. And wherever it's accepted, the text assures us it is accomplished already. Section 5. How to practice acceptance. So, how do we actually do this? How do we take these deep, abstract concepts and apply them to our everyday routine? Well, the text gives us clear, practical instructions for today. To stop these senseless attacks on salvation, we follow 3 actionable steps. First, we replace attack with acceptance. Second, we must actively lay our judgments aside. We have to realize that by holding on to our grievances, we've basically been shouting so loudly that we've closed our eyes and stopped our ears to the truth. So step 3 is to just stop shouting, sit in quiet, and finally listen for the voice of truth. Now, the text totally acknowledges that this isn't always easy. There are absolutely going to be moments when your confidence wanes and your hope flickers. But when that happens, the text offers specific guidance. Don't go back to asking the ego for answers. Repeat your request to the truth. Remember that you aren't asking a limited body. You are asking the infinite creator of infinity. Just be absolutely determined to hear the answer. I want to leave you with this exact question from the text. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. I really encourage you to take this practice into your day. When you feel a grievance rising, when someone's physical actions trigger your anger, just stop, lay the judgment aside, ask this question, and then just sit in quiet reflection, wait for the answer that comes not from the ego's loud arena, but from the quiet light of truth already inside you. What might you hear if you finally stop shouting?